think the Seahawks coaching search bump is reminding me a bit of me trying to find something on Netflix. And I know we're a show of analogies. We're big on analogies. We love a good analogy. And so that's mine when it comes to this. And here's what I mean. I spend forever, I'm talking 45 plus minutes, trying to find something to watch. And it's like, I already know what you're going to watch. You're going to watch the same things you always watch. You're going to watch the exact same movie, the exact same shows that you always watch and you've already seen. You're just going to watch them again. Mm-hmm. But then I go through and I try to find these new things and I look at the trailers and I look up reviews on my phone and I add it to the watch list. I don't end up watching. That's what I'm going to say worry the Seahawks head coaching search has become. It's not that I don't think Dan Quinn could be a great fit here, but we have two new names now that have been linked to the head coaching search. Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson, who's a popular pick, and also Texans offensive coordinator Bobby Slowik, both reported per Tom Pelissero. I feel like we now have 8, 9 names tied to the Seahawks.
Right.
And it's always going to be the first one, Dan Quinn. I feel like that's just what it's going to be.
You think it's going to be DC or
do.
DQ? Sorry, DQ. Derek Quinn. Dan Quinn.
Quinn with a C. Quinn.
Dan Quinn.
This is what I like about the names being put out there is that at least it seems like they are searching near and far, high and low to find a guy. Even if it does end up being Dan Quinn, okay, so be it. That makes sense. I like the Ben Johnson mention. The reason why I didn't mention Ben Johnson is because I want a defensive guy. Now, I didn't mention Ben Johnson because I don't think he's capable. He's more than capable. He's worked his way up over there in Detroit. OC from 22 to 23. Last year, the third best offense, second passing, fifth rushing. 157 play action attempts. That's number 2 in the league, and they were number 1 when it comes to play action yards. The reason why I point that out, that's when Geno is at his best, is when he's, faking it, rolling out, and boom, dropping dimes. Then I look at, you didn't mention this other guy yet, so I'll wait till you mention that. But what Ben has been able to do with Jared Goff as well, in 2023, he completed 67% of his passes. That's the highest completion rate he's ever had. Also, the second most touchdowns at 30. I look at Jared Goff and I look at Geno and I go, similar. Change the skin tone a little bit, and you might be okay. The same type of player. I think Geno got a bit more wheels than Jared Goff. He knows where the sun sets, but the same type of player, though. And you got a good tight end and Sam Laporta over there. You got a good tight end group over here. You got receivers over there with Amon-Ra St. Brown and who's the other receiver? Is it Reynolds over there?
Josh Reynolds.
Reynolds. I look at the two teams and I go, they're kind of the same. They got the same kind of MO. The only thing that Detroit has on the Seahawks is that their head coach is intense and demands more and has that defense playing well, even though he's a tight end at heart.
Now, the Texans offensive coordinator choice, Bobby Slowik, also being interviewed by the Seahawks. Not only he and Ben Johnson now even out the coaching search to like this half and half defensive coordinator, offensive coordinator. Before it was clear that they were looking for a defensive guy, but we've now heard of several new offensive names linked, Bobby Slowik being one of them. He's a really interesting one because you almost wonder, like, did CJ Stroud like play his coordinator into a new gig and out of Houston, because he's had a really special season. They were doing some really cool things this year, but I don't know a lot about them outside of that, and you've had that 1 year.
Yeah. After a little bit of research, you know what is a common thing with a lot of these names, guys who are established, Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay, Mike McDaniels. You know where they all started? In Washington with the thin Redskins. This is where Slowik started in 2011 to 13 with the Redskins, defensive assistant. Then he goes to the Niners and works his way all the way up to passing game coordinator, which I love the passing game over there with the Niners. Granted, now he's learning from Kyle Shanahan, who also started with the Washington Redskins back in the day. In 1 year with the Houston Texans, he's turned that thing around. And I think D'Amico Ryans deserves a lot of the credit over there, but obviously you're only as good as your assistants. And what he was able to do is get this young man, Stroud, who has the talent. I'm not saying it's just Slowik, but you have to nurture a rookie quarterback in the NFL, right? You got to get him to see the game as you see it, and he's been able to do exactly that. Stroud has one of the best years we've seen out of a rookie quarterback. So, yeah, I think it makes sense on paper. Both these guys are young, around 37, 38 years old. It's not like they came out of nowhere. They might come out of nowhere to you if you haven't done your research on them. But they've grinded, man, and they come from a great coaching tree. So I appreciate them putting offensive guys out there, especially Ben Johnson, because I think that what he did with the Detroit Lions can be done here with the Seattle Seahawks.
Would a side of you as an offensive guy, an offensive coach, when you aren't a head coach, like to see them go with offense?
Would I? No. I'm okay with it. I mean, just because you hire an offensive guy as your head coach doesn't mean he's not going to put the right guys in place, that D coordinator and all that good stuff. I just like defense, or I want defense for this situation because that needs to be the emphasis. The leader of this team, I would love for it to be a guy who steps in front of the team and brings that defensive intensity and personality to the squad, because I think that's what's missing. But no, I wouldn't be mad at a Ben Johnson at all.
Yeah, I think there's also like people strip intelligence away sometimes from the defensive side of the ball, and they frame it as though with the offensive side of the ball, you got to be the smartest guy in the room, and that's what makes for the best coaches. And with defense, it's just intensity and it's physicality, and it's like, well, hang on. You've still got to have great game plans. You've still got to play brilliant, and you have to combat some of these really smart playmakers around the league. You think that people just do that by drafting fast players?
That helps, but
it certainly helps. But
it's different than just that. Like,
exactly.
you gotta understand how offenses are trying to attack you, and here's the true part about that statement is that the offense can do more schematically. The offensive playbook is probably thicker than most defensive playbooks because there's a bunch of formations, route concepts, or whatnot. But on the defensive side, don't get it twisted. A Mike linebacker is one of the smartest guys on the field.
Yeah.
You look at a safety. It depends on how involved your safety is. He's one of the smartest guys on the field. So, no, I mean, in ways, there's more to learn on offense, but I don't look at a defensive guy and say, oh, you play defense, you're no good. That's crazy.
From the 360, Detroit's O-line is 5 times as good as Seattle's. Yeah, but I don't think that now 360, I don't know if this is what you're saying, but I don't know that just saying, oh, they have more weapons or whatever takes away from what someone like Ben Johnson has been able to accomplish. It's still a really impressive resume. I mean, yeah, their O-line is solid, but how many people would have seen Detroit 3 years ago doing what they're doing now?
No,
A big part of that's their coaching staff.
Yeah, not many. That's for sure. And I'm looking now. I believe that Detroit's offensive line is better than Seattle's offensive line, obviously. But I'm also looking at All Pro. Ain't no Detroit line. Actually, there's one. Oh, Sewell. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, they got one tackle. So yeah, man. It's again. But every time I mention this team next year, when I talk about the offense, I always talk about how everything's set except you got to find a couple offensive linemen. That's no secret, right? There are things you can do to help your offensive line when it comes to protection and run game and all that good stuff, but you need talent. So, again, say if Ben Johnson were to come over here because he's had Jared Goff over there with the Detroit Lions, he might be like, chill on that number 16 pick when it comes with the quarterback, comes to getting a quarterback. We got one here. I'm going to bolster up this offensive line and see what's up.